Hey there and welcome. Gosh, we have a good one for you this afternoon. Let me just share my screen here. There we go. This afternoon, we're doing supercharging your job search. Let's start with what people do in, most often in their job search. And that is they sit on the internet looking at job postings and they believe that that is really job search. To me, that's absolute tragedy because about half of all the job postings you see are not real in the first place. And that comes out of how they're sold. Was VP over 100 office recruiting system. I can tell you a company of any size, they only buy those job postings one time per year. Only possible way you get a good deal. So it's how many could I use this next year? You take that number to your sales rep. You do a little horse trading, you sign that contract. Those are use them or lose them in 12 months. No idea 6 months or up to a year ago what they're going to hire today, which becomes a trap. They have to use up those postings. They already paid for them. And they begin to post something they may hire for someday with very little relevance on actually today. I think we need to supercharge our job search by changing the whole approach to job search. So hopefully that won't be too jarring for you. Job search is a sales process. We have to sit and think about how we're going to, take control in this process, because if we're not in control, of course, we're going to feel these things right here. This is part of the human condition. So this begins to eat away at us very, very quickly. I send out all these resumes. No one's responding back. I'm perfect for these jobs. Until our own confidence is crushed. And really, there's only two reasons someone's actually going to hire you. This is assuming you're capable or qualified. By the way, we don't hire you because you're capable or qualified. We would never hire anyone that wasn't capable or qualified. The fact that we're talking with you, we believe you're capable and qualified. You have to convince us why you're interesting, why you're different, why I should add someone like you to the team. Now, I'm going to give you a lot of advice today. I think this is the best advice to start with, which is don't let somebody else think for yourself. I mean, put down that smartphone, get out of the back seat, get behind the wheel, or not likely to get to the career destination that you're really thinking about. There's a lot of different things that can derail our job search. Most of job search, we run down this laundry list. I could see a job posting. I could hear about a job posting. I could do every single thing on this list, which are all valid, by the way. These are all ways that you can find that next job or hear about the next job or even hear about the need before it becomes a job posting. But that's a lot of things to juggle in addition to everything else you're going to be doing. Here's your guiding principle. This guiding principle, every time you're feeling lost, there's so much going on today. What should I do next? Is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? By the way, I was about 10 years back, just getting started as a speaker and working one-on-one with clients. Of course, I'd been in recruiting for 10 years before that. But my gosh, starting off in this new venture, I was sending out press releases. I had started to speak at different locations. I'd written my book, didn't have quotes in the media, didn't seem to be able to attain what I need to attain. If I don't get quotes in the media, I have to go after those things. And so just like a job search, I put together a list of people to go after, just like you should do in your job search, a list of companies to go after, a list of people at those companies to go after, because they must be dying to know about a person like you. Well, I did the same thing. I put together a list of journalists. Not brain surgery to figure out how to do that. We go to Google, we click the news tab, we put in 2 or 3 keywords about whatever field it is or whatever area of expertise that you have, and you'll suddenly find all these articles all over the country that talk about your subject matter. Now they're all attached to journalists, which all write about my subject matter. Now I have a list of 50 journalists to send out one press release, one introductory press release at a time. Introducing myself as the new voice in job search. This is why I'm credible. Here's my book. Here's a sampling of my writing. This is why you should use me for your next article. And of course, I did not like that activity. I'm sitting on my home office couch going one at a time, send these things out. I hate this. Is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? Well, I won that argument, by the way. Intellectually, I had decided it was worth the investment. I went right back to work. I didn't like it. Right back to work. Just do it, John. Send them out. 2 hours later, got a call from the Wall Street Journal Very good use of my time. Also, you have to understand commitment. You intellectually decided how to solve this puzzle. This guiding principle will help you stay on track every single time that you think something is spinning out of control. By the way, get to like the feeling of something spinning out of control, because that's an indicator that your activity level is at the right level to produce either an offer or maybe even multiple offers. That whole laundry list of things that you just saw also has to fit into this perspective right here. Which items fall under searching for jobs or under sending out resumes or networking or all the other things here? Yeah, these are the guiding foundational areas, but all that detail of what was up there. So if you don't have that little test, is this the most effective use of my time at this moment? You're going to invest your time into some areas that really aren't the right areas for you. Now, building and managing, structuring a job search plan of action. The basics of job search, if we're not going to sit on the internet looking at job postings, by the way, that is one great activity. It's one of about 15 different activities that could lead to your next job opportunity. Would you like to ignore the other 14 potential avenues to get to your new destination, or find balance? So in reality, I like to upend the entire process. Instead of chasing the job postings, which maybe make sense or maybe don't make sense, instead of that, what I'd like to do is choose the 30 companies. Oh, I know that's a tough number. 30 companies you're dying to work for. I'm dying to work there. By the way, you being dying to work there cannot be because you see an open job. That's about you. Seeing that open job and your heart jumps, oh, that's about you, and kudos to you. But they don't care about you. This is very similar to a dating process. It has to be all about them. So choose the right companies that you have to go to work for some compelling reason. Oh, I love their position in the marketplace. I love their brand. I love this. Who knows what you love, but it has to be real. If it's real, it works. If it's made up, it does not. So now I picked the 30 companies. I also have to stack rank them, because why would I go off on this journey just randomly going company 1, 2, 3, 4? No. Each of these companies has a certain level of value just to you. What you need to do is to stack rank them so you're investing your time wisely. Your time as a job seeker is the only resource you have. That's why we don't want to sit on the internet looking at job postings with half of them not being real and wasting 50% of your time. So choose the companies or organizations, stack rank them appropriately. And now for the first organization on your list, I'm simply going to use my own understanding of the org chart. I've worked for similar companies in the past. I get how they're structured. I've worked within departments like mine in the past. I get who the players are. And from that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into LinkedIn, do a reverse search of that particular company. And now I'm going to maybe even put in a couple keywords that I need in there to narrow down to the 25 to 30 individuals that likely surround that job. Up, up, up the food chain. Don't be shy. Up, up, up. Down, down, down into some very interesting areas, maybe even down into the admin level for very strategic reasoning. Left and right into a couple surrounding departments. What I end up with is this nice, healthy mix of the 25 to 30 people that are essentially surrounding my job. We take that a little bit farther in the thought process. Well, those people are people I likely probably interact with every day in this job, or every week at the very least. And of course, every one of them knows the decision maker. And very likely one of these people is the decision maker. By the way, they don't have to be in there. The decision maker, if somehow you didn't get the decision maker in your 25 to 30, that's okay too, because every single one of them knows the decision maker. Just to impress them, they all want the credit. They'll connect you right up to the decision maker. Show up with your cup and jiggling some coin looking for a new job. Not a one of them will want to help you. This is a date. You have to remember it's about them, their company, their team, all about them before it's ever about you. Now, once I've selected these individuals, it's as simple as using the marketing tools built into LinkedIn. I'm going to open their profiles, which triggers a marketing event of having looked at them. Six people looked at you. Who's looked at me? Once you look, you can't stop looking. It's human nature. So really, this is a way for you to look behind the firewall of the company at all 25 to 30 people, beginning to warm up the audience that would have interacted with you on a daily basis in that role. That's really taking a hook and sliding a worm on the hook and tossing it out into the pond, and be brave enough to wait till it wiggles around, till somebody clicks on it, and suddenly they're on your three-dimensional sales brochure all about you. That's the actual goal. But why just one hook and one worm when we can do two? So I open their profiles, as all of them are open. Hopefully I've learned how to do that in a very effective way, holding down one of those buttons left of the space bar so I can open up every name in a new tab, just streamlining the process. Now I'm going to ask every one of them to connect with me. Simple message you write one time ever communicates you don't know me. I'm professionally appropriate. Here's a little stroke to your ego. Sounds like this. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche or niche, depending how we like to say that. And comma, of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. You don't know me, professionally appropriate, little stroke to the ego, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. All 25 to 30 right out the door. This is a sales process. There is no waiting. The answer is completely irrelevant. Oh, I know you want those connections. 25 to 30 done this way, you're probably going to get 10, 12 acceptances pretty quickly. But I know you want them all. That's not the point. This is a second hook, a second worm, toss it onto the pond. Now you got two worms wiggling around out in that pond, trying to get someone to click on your name onto your sales brochure. Now, again, we don't wait for the answers because it's completely irrelevant. You simply look back at the 25 to 30 people, and from your own gut instinct, you pick out, who do I think, because that's the only opinion that really matters, who I think are the 3, 4, or 5 people that would somehow be involved in the conversation for a person like myself. Now, those people, notice it says email, it doesn't say in-mail, it says email. Those people, I'm going to directly email them, 3, 4, 5 decision makers. If you only get 3, you're going to get a little bit less results. If you go for 5 every single time, better results every single time. So I'm going to reach out to these people, maybe something as simple as Dear Jack or Good Morning Jack by first name. Whatever greeting it feels right for you, that's fine. By first name. You have to be equal to every single person that you speak with. I don't care if that's the CEO of the company or the person that cleans the CEO's office. Absolutely equal. I will never speak up to someone and certainly never speak down to someone. Email them directly, Dear Jack, Dear Jim, Dear Jill. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at ABC Company. Oh, I saw the Wall Street Journal article on your new such and such launch. Oh, those things are always so good to get. Yes, try being a human being in the communication like you would talk to a dear old friend. And also, I didn't discover that through osmosis. I had to go do some homework. I had to go do a Google News search, figure out what's going on with this company, or maybe even look at their press releases, find something to stroke their ego about. Now, right after I stroke their ego, that's where I connect in my value. You know, back when I was with XYZ company, pause for a minute. All you have to do to get a meeting is have a carrot. Can you dangle some carrot that they can't resist? Let me think here. Gosh, I back when I was with XYZ company, I handled a very similar launch. You know, I'd love to come in and share with you how we tackled all those issues I bet your team's experiencing challenges with. Be brave enough to go for the juggler. I have an opening on my calendar today at 10 a.m. One day, one time, never more. You're open all next week. I'm never meeting with you. You're not valuable. Your dance cards are not full. You're definitely not the one that needs to eat up my time. But, you know, if you're hard to reach, you've got one day, one time, you have a spectacular background, you know what's going on with my company, you've approached me the right way, I cannot resist. By the way, if Tuesday at 10 a.m. is not good for me, I'll tell you, Tuesday's terrible. Wednesday, 3 o'clock. You don't think I'm going to go off key of my message just because they flew out over Tuesday. You're interrupting their work day. Whatever reaction they have is fine. It's not personal. Book the time. Don't lose sight of what you're there to do, which is to sell. Book a meeting and repeat this as often as possible. That's the basic job search plan. A little bit more about my background, then we're going to take you deep into this so you have a better understanding. John Crant, author, career coach, and speaker. Resume and LinkedIn guru as well. If you need help on your resume to elevate your brand, really, so the essence and value of your career is evident within seconds on a single sheet of paper, I know who you should work with. Same thing on your LinkedIn. If you need that to become a three-dimensional sales brochure that really helps close the deal, again, reach out to me. Book has a lot of resources in it, a lot of great things there. It's available at the New York Public Library, of course, and of course over on Amazon, my website, and many other places. It's a great roadmap to help you. Here's a few other resources. Right on my homepage, selfrecruiter.com, halfway down the page is my LinkedIn lecture. If your LinkedIn is not singing your praises, you can use this as a step-by-step tutorial really to help elevate your brand and build out the rest of your sales brochure. Over on LinkedIn, click on my articles, and you can get to one to piggyback on top of this resume, supercharging your job search, or the biggest mistake, that's really time mismanagement, or how to prevent your resume from becoming resume roadkill. So let's get down to the part we don't like, which is job search is a sales process. Wait, it's even worse. Not only is it a sales process, it's a dating process. It's really both of those things combined. You know, we all like to go after the job, just get the job, but everyone else is hitting that darn button. And almost never does it really say apply. Almost always does it say submit. Submit, all capital letters, until we're so submissive. It's like a Friday night, and we end up back here Friday night waiting for that phone to ring. That's never going to ring, never going to ring. Telemarketer when it does. For today's lecture and the entire series, it's really about one thing: beginning to take control in your career, even if you're employed, and job search, taking control if we're looking for that next opportunity. So becoming this self-recruiter, this one great recruiter looking after one great candidate, which is you, that requires us to network in a very different way. That's LinkedIn, so be sure to watch the LinkedIn lecture. Also requires us to keep one eye on that toughest competitor imaginable, those scary people. By the way, you cannot beat those scary people unless you look at them, unless you plan, unless you strategize. But here's the secret about the scary people. The scary people suffer from ego and arrogance. They don't prepare. They wake up in the morning and go, oh, well, who are they going to hire? They're going to hire me. And what? They splash some water on their face and get dressed? We all have to do that. That is not preparing. With a little bit of strategy, planning, you can outmaneuver these scary people very easily because they didn't prepare in the first place. Think about the most difficult project that you've ever worked on. Let me get a little bit of drink here. Most difficult project in your work life you've ever worked on. Think about that project that it was so much stress, probably eating holes in our stomach as we're working on it. Yeah, that project. How much intensity, focus, effort, problem solving surrounded that project? Your job search is the most important project in your future. You have to put just as much energy into your job search as you put into that project that was like, wow, this is overwhelming. Yes. And now we have to also remember the job search is a sales process, and we have to combine all of those things together. So, now, as I promised before, 30 companies really is the number. I know it's a scary number, but I can't find 30 companies that I love. Can you find 10? I bet you can come up with 10 that you love. Organically, really, truly love. If I could work those companies, I'd be so happy. Great. Start with 10. Now, why don't you use a financial tool to multiply that out? Yahoo Finance, well, I'm not really sure if they're running still or not, or hoovers.com. There's a bunch of other financial tools out there. Just pull up their profile on one of the financial tools, and usually in the synopsis of the company, which is a better synopsis than their own website usually, right on the left column or the right column, somewhere right there, is their 3 top competitors in almost every case. So I could go look these 10 companies up on a financial tool and suddenly realize, oh, I can multiply that out. Now I have 40 companies. Well, cross out a few duplicates, cross out a few you don't like. And you know what? You're probably down to 30. You're probably down to 30 companies that the same reasons you like these other ones apply to these companies. Now you have a proper list to start with. You still have to stack rank those because you need to invest your time wisely. Now, let's take it even farther. Imagine these companies are also statistically perfect to hire you. Not only do you desire them, but they're statistically perfect. So the right list of companies really changes everything. That's part of the sales process. Now, typical sales funnel, I'm sure you've seen a sales funnel by now, but we need to kind of review this because your job search is a sales process. The more activity you're able to generate at the top, the more activity at the next level, more activity at the next level, all like a distillery dripping down to a few drops of gold, which in this case could be an offer or 2 or 3. Perfect world, don't you want multiple offers so you have choice? Well, if you want multiple offers, you're going to have to be able to juggle, because to get multiple offers You need to be juggling 10 organizations at once. That means I pursue 10 organizations simultaneously, even though it's like, wow, that's a lot of juggling, 25 to 30 people at each, 3, 4, 5 decision makers at each. And what if they don't respond to the first outreach? I have to have a second, third, maybe fourth, fifth outreach, because my goal is to set up a conversation. And honestly, I'm not going away until we set up that conversation, or you pick up the phone and tell me to go away. I sure hope they don't pick up the phone to tell you to go away. But you know what, if they did, and as a recruiter, I certainly had occasionally people pick up the phone and go, could you just quit calling me? I'm sorry, who's this? Absolutely. Jack, I'm so sorry. I just got so excited. I saw what was going on with your company, and I'm working with this superstar, and they really told me that they'd love to bring their talent to you. I felt I owed you the call. I fell on the sword. I continued to sell. You don't think I'm going to forget to sell and pitch the person just because they call me to tell me to stop calling. You have to have that same level of determination. Your goal out of juggling 10 organizations that you're pursuing at once is to generate one brand new, fresh initial interview each week. Absolutely, you should be having second, third, and additional rounds of interviews, but we only measure the initial interview as a benchmark. One new initial interview per week is a very tough goal, by the way. Some may not have had interviews in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Other people, may have generated a few, but one every single week, that's a tough goal. You should have a tough goal for your job search, one that's not guaranteed. You have to work toward. So in really starting our engines, and we want these engines to be humming, not engines that keep conking out and stopping, we're going to select the organizations and companies we're going to go after. We're going to devise the steps needed. Well, what are those? Well, let's think like a detective. I mean, what John's saying is not really possible, but if it was, how do I align the sun, the moon, the stars working backward to open up a pathway? Devise the steps needed, not brain surgery. We'll show you some of them today. Discover the decision makers. Well, there's no mystery there. We'll show you directly how to discover them with a reverse search of LinkedIn. That's easy peasy stuff. Overcoming objections. Now, what was their title? Oh, decision maker. You know what their job is? To object to you. When someone objects, well, John, you don't have background in this industry. I don't. But I'm sure you'll meet a lot of those. That's an agree but disagree technique, by the way. If I don't have background in the industry, I cannot fake that. That is not going to go well. The best thing for me to do is to just confront it head on, as if that's not really an important issue. Well, I don't, just like it's a gift. But I'm sure you'll meet a lot of those folks in the other candidates. I try to let the other people always be candidates, where I hit the D a little bit extra. Cat hair in our mouths, we got to get out. And I'm always an individual. What I bring to the table is something very, very different. It's actually why I'm going to be the very best individual for this role. Always an individual for me, always candidates for the other people. Overcome those objections. That's what the conversation's about. You didn't expect a free ride? No, you got to go in there and convince them. Get a meeting, dazzle them. Either have them give you the job or create the job. So, of course, in this whole process, and we outlined the steps a little bit earlier, but we're going to break it down here. We're going to connect with people. This is part of warming up your target audience. Ever go to a big show, big flashy show, big names, everything else? Do those big name people just step out on stage and start entertaining? Rarely. Usually somebody that's up and coming you've never heard of, or maybe you have even heard of a little bit, has to get out in front of that curtain and interact and warm up the audience, loosen them up, get them ready. Same thing we're going to do here. So for clarity, we're going to go up, down, left, and right across departments, up and down the food chain. Really not afraid to go too high and not afraid to go too low for strategic reasons down there. I'm going to open. I'm going to ask to connect. Basic principle. I like to connect with other professionals in our niche. And of course, I'd love to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. You write it one time ever, copy and paste it forever more. That will get you a lot of connections. So we're clear that they don't know us. We're clear we're appropriate. Include the little stroke to the ego. And that has very, very positive results. Now, without waiting, because there's no point to waiting, because it's a sales process. There's no waiting in the sales process. Now you simply select the 3, 4, 5 individuals likely to be involved in that discussion with you. Who would have the conversation with a person like me? And that type of person, you realize what I'm doing here is uncovering a lot of industry information about companies, about the players within those companies, maybe even about relationship between the players within those companies. Why would we acquire all of that information and lose it? You need to use something like a company development sheet. This is what we use in recruiting. I have to have a company development sheet where I am acquiring that knowledge and not losing it for either another round further down the road, or maybe even the next time that I need to change jobs. Why should I have to start all over again? By the way, these same people may not even be at these companies next time around, but now you'll have the history, you can connect the conversation, you can reach out to them at the new companies. That's why we want to acquire information and use some sort of a form like this that will guide you to always what's the next step. There has to be a next step. What else can I do? Because it's a sales process. So to recap again, those pieces are pretty easy to understand. I'm not going to go back through and read them again to you because you've seen them a few times, but it really is that simple, and small changes change perception. Now, your script's going to probably have to change too because the world has changed. Biggest way the world has changed in the last 15, 16 months is about 40% of the country is working remotely. I hope that a few more can even work remotely. But if I'm trying to hire, my biggest concern is I have people that aren't very effective remotely. Are you effective remotely? Even if they never mention it. So now if you haven't worked remotely before, and say you haven't been working the last year, so you don't have that to point to, well, you may need to think of some other ways you might have interacted with vendors or managers or team members or clients, which it could have been off-site or could have been other places. Or maybe you've been a public speaker as part of your function, and you did either conference calls or seminars or webinars or conferences themselves, all ways that really aren't remote work too much, but they demonstrate an ability to deliver value remotely. Still solves the problem. Now let's get to the decider. So who is it that makes the decisions, but not just the decider? Who are the influencers? Because we have to influence all the people that are around the decider. Good example of this is years ago, used to make a lot of placements when I was a recruiter with Informatica, big database middleware company. And, one of the folks I made a lot of placements with was Eric in the Atlanta office. Now, Eric's long gone years ago now. But, Eric's process was he would basically pick the three people he would hire anyway. Oh, I like all three of these. I'd hire any one of them. Well, I have my favorites, but I'd hire any one of them. Then what the decider would do is he'd send them up to the Eastern VP. And the Eastern VP would weigh in. Well, Eric, of course, I think they're all pretty good candidates. I mean, I'd probably choose this one, and here's why. But, you're the decider. You should do what you like. And what does Eric do every time? Picks exactly who the VP picks. Oh, yes, Eric's the decider, could pick any one of them. But if he picked one of those other ones and they didn't end up producing at the right level, Eric, I told you I thought we should probably go with this person, but that was your choice. My gosh. So this is a cover your behind strategy that a lot of managers use. So my gosh, don't forget to get to the other people that influence the deciders. Now, HR, well, not really. If by the way, you'd like to work in HR, absolutely. They are your decision maker and your hiring person, and the entire process is going to be there. But we have a wrong idea about HR for the rest of the hires for the company. They're not the decider. In fact, actually, they're a blocker that prevents things from happening many, many times because they have a cursory understanding of this job that is not an HR job. And they have this mythical list they create carved in stone. That's the job posting, by the way. I have another phrase for it. I call it the list of the irrelevance. New word, T and an S on the end of it. Almost everything on that list is irrelevant to this job. Tangentially connected, absolutely, I get that. But that's not a picture of the day-to-day of the job. And if that's carved in stone, wait, you get down to HR, wait. You mean I don't match the irrelevant items? I should get a bonus for that. A lot of problems if we go that route. But if you get to the decision maker, a 90-second conversation with the decision maker, you can win them over or lose them. Can't talk yourself into a job you're not right for, but the decision maker and you will speak the same language. They'll get you right away. They'll know exactly why you can be valuable to them. So let's get to, in my view, and everything I'm teaching you is my opinion. Keep it in perspective. But I'd like to get to the boss, but even the boss's boss or the boss's boss's boss. Basic top-down selling. Basic sales technique. Don't be too shy of that. Further up the food chain, they're not afraid of you. You're a strategic asset. So if I can get the boss's ear and they like me and I get introduced down the food chain, you always get that interview when you're introduced down the food chain. Just happens every single time. So here's a few of the areas of the company. You begin to see how they're all essentially structured essentially the same way with some slight variations on title. You know what the titles for your field are, so begin to think about who do I need to get to? Who are the influencers? Who are the deciders? And then I have to really capture all of that knowledge, and I have to capture all of my activities so I begin to understand, did I really pursue this company correctly? Did I go after enough people, or did I really only do a cursory job? Other ways to get to decision makers, well, there can be name mentions, and I hope you're reading all your industry news, magazines, whatever there might be that's out there, the trades. Yeah, all those things could have name mentions in them. And when you reach out to the person that was mentioned, they know exactly what you're doing. They also can't resist it. We're human beings. It's like, oh, you saw my article on such and such, or you saw my quote. They can't resist. So name mentions are a very important way to get to a decider. You could get referrals to deciders from other decision makers, other industry managers, other connections. And they could say, oh, you should speak with Jack Smith. Well, thank you very much for that referral. I appreciate it. Gosh, Jack, I happen to be networking and your name came up as someone they recommended that I speak with. So I thought I felt I owed you this call. I didn't even tell him who mentioned the name. I felt like I owed you this call. I have to begin to think about how you create excitement from your message that is still true. Of course, LinkedIn, that's another way, and we're going to show you that one today. We're going to show you how to reverse search LinkedIn using our own understanding of a typical org chart and really kind of developing a list. Well, let's go in and show you how that's done. So unified search box at the top of any page. I'm simply going to go up to this unified search box, and I'm going to search for whatever I'd like. So in this example, I'm searching for Informatica. Again, big database middleware company. The trap here is they're going to give me this drop-down menu. Don't click on the drop-down menu. Trip down the rabbit hole. Don't do it. Simply type what you'd like, hit enter, and then magically you get this nice secondary sorting process. So yes, I am here to find employees of Informatica and to reverse search and think about the org chart. But as long as I'm here, there must be other companies that somehow are not on my radar that really should be. So it's a brainstorming technique. It's not simply here's the answer. I'm finding the answer. So as long as I'm here, I'd like to see other companies. Where's the companies? Oh, it's hidden over here. There it is right there. Companies. Show me the companies. Wow, 34,000 companies. Now that's a lot of companies. After you get past the few dozen here that are named Informatica of some sort, who are all the rest of these further down the list? Well, I can tell you this used to be one of my fields. They're all further down the list. They're all system integrators. They either resell or install Informatica software. If you are statistically right to work for Informatica, you are very likely statistically right to work for a great number of companies on this list. If you didn't connect those dots, this is an alternate method to developing perfect lists of statistically perfect companies. I teach another method of how to do this over in the LinkedIn lecture right on my homepage, halfway down the page. So I uncover some companies, but then I have to go back and find the people in Informatica. That's why I'm really here. So show me the people. Show me the people. What do we get? 2.5 million. I'm only using the free version of LinkedIn. I can't look at 2.5 million. They're going to cut me off at 25 maybe. So I'm going to have to think a little bit clear here. I know what I'm doing wrong. I need ones that are really in the US. I don't need all the employees in the whole world. So really give me US. And you know what? I also don't need someone that worked for Informatica 3 years ago. I need the ones currently working there today. So currently working for Informatica, really in the US, 1,615 results. Okay, but I can't look at 1,600 either. Oh, I have to get some coffee while I think about this. Afternoon coffee, huh? I know what it is. Because I had to think and brainstorm. I'm going to go into the search parameters, even on the free version right here. VP, look at that. It's just a simple VP. I think a VP is going to be the decider. Really US, really currently Informatica. What do I get? 75 VPs. A lot of chiefs. Let me think. Maybe it's a director. Let me fish around here. Director, really US, really Informatica. What do I get? 228 directors. I'm going the wrong direction. I'm off a little bit. I have it because it's brainstorming. You know what it is? It's a sales director, a little more specific and really down to New York City. Why am I searching all of US when I'm really looking for New York City, even on the free version? Currently working for Informatica. What do I get? What do I get? 3. Great. I've got my 3. Wait a minute. I said 3 to 5. 3 is okay. 5 is much better odds. I've got 3. What else could I do to find 2 more? Maybe it's a sales VP. Maybe not just a sales director. Maybe there's a sales VP, really greater in New York City, really currently working for Informatica. What do I get? What do I get? 2 more. Now I have 5. I have 5 people I'm looking for. Fantastic. I mean, that's what we're after. Now I have 5 people I can introduce myself, each as if they're the only person in the world. You never know who's juggling what and who will respond. So if they see someone else is CC'd on the email, I'll have someone else to take care of that. And you'll never hear back. Now, I'd also like to connect with these folks. Hopefully, I have done this as part of my fact-finding 25 to 30 process. But if not, some of them are going to have nice connect buttons like that one below. And then this one on Nick, send in-mail, send in-mail. Do we understand what in-mail is? Please do not send things you do not understand. In-mail is spam. The literal definition of spam. It is paid email. So it may not seem like spam to you, but your targets, someone like myself, an HR person, recruiter, decision maker, my inbox on LinkedIn is jam-packed with well over 1,000 unopened nonsense messages, endless spam, absolutely a few good ones mixed in that sometimes get missed. Email them directly if you want to do that. But I want to connect. I don't want to in-mail. So if I just load it Nick's profile, they still frustrate me. But then look at right below, I click the ... I get the little drop down and they've just hidden the connect button over here behind the bush. Oh, they'll never find it over here. Their business is connecting. They can't prevent you from connecting. And there's that one-time message you copy and paste forevermore. I'm going to reach right out to these people. I'm going to capture all of that information into my management tool, into my development sheet on these companies so I can grow from this process. Now, you heard me mention it's a date. It is a date. It is a date. It's got to be about them before it's ever about you. So take your first step. Hi, this is John. I'd like you to hire me. I really hope that's not your first step because that's not going to go very well. That's going to go, how'd you get my number? Take me off your list. Never call me again. Security. Okay. Every single word of your messaging has to be value-based and has to be about them before it's ever about you. That's how you begin to open doors. And your job is to be persuasive. Let's take you into the script. Your script is the key to supercharging your job search, in addition to going after the right 30 companies and going after them with tenacity. Really, if I'm going after a company, we're either going to have a conversation or John keeps going after that company until somebody picks up the phone to tell me to go away. And again, I hope they don't tell me to go away. 30 seconds to live or die. And the dying sounds like, how'd you get my number? Take me off your list. Never call me again. Security. All right. So these forms here are available right on my website, right under the advice tab. We'll show you how to get to that. That's pretty simple. You're not going to write the script right now. You're going to write it as homework. The text on the left side will remind you about what is here and what I'm teaching you. I just want to take you through the structure on the right so you get a good feel of what it should be like. We're going to greet them because that's what's expected. Now, when I was teaching recruiters, it's really the same thing. When I was teaching recruiters to do this, I'd teach them the greeting. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. How are you this morning? And some recruiter's hand would certainly shoot up right away going, isn't that what they all say? Yes, that is the usual customer expected. And in this case, we're going to use the fact that they are trained like a trained dog to get that response. They're either going to give you, I'm fine, John, how can I help you? Or they're going to give you the trained dog, I'm fine, John, how can I help you? I'll take it. And we keep going. Or they're going to give you something you don't want, like, I'm terrible. What does the next person say? Wait for the response, acknowledge the response. I cannot pretend that I just didn't hear that it was a terrible day for them. Acknowledge it. I have to get right to the point, tell them why I'm calling, be ready to pivot. If my background education includes something spectacular, which only includes about this many schools, I mention it. If it doesn't include one of those schools, I don't care how special you think your school is. If it's not one of those, it's not one of them to mention right now. It's not the deciding factor, not an influencer yet. Get right down to 2 or 3 key deliverables, accomplishments, whatever would make them jump out of their chair, and then your job is to close them, which is simply a scary sales term requiring you to ask for what you'd like, which is specifically not closing, because it also requires asking for agreement to it. It requires both halves to be closing. Nobody wants to ask for agreement to it because that's when they're going to say no. Let's go back and let you hear this live. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. How are you this morning? Pause. I hope you noticed that they're only by first name. I do not care if that's Jack Welsh at GE. Hey, good morning, Jack. I don't think Jack Welsh would like that, but it really doesn't matter what Jack likes. I'm in charge, or really you're in charge of your outreach. I have to be equal to every other person. Can't be equal without a first name. So give yourself permission to get out of the little box we put ourselves in mentally and greet them optimistically by first name. Notice, though, that I instantly said exactly who I am without rushing through my words. You know, my name may seem very simple when you look at it, but honestly, everybody thinks it's misspelled. Everybody thinks the last name has to be Grant, which is not my last name. And so I have to actively insert a pause between my first and last name, which is very difficult to do without practice. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. You know how uncomfortable that is in the mouth? But with practice, it's very easy. And you know what they hear? John Crant. And they go, oh, I don't know John. If you only say your first name, they're stuck in this cycle listening to your voice going, who's John, who's John, who's John? Put them in perspective. I don't know who John is. And they're not even listening to you because they're lost in this spiral. Clear first and last name. They go, oh, I don't know John. And then they react to you. How are you this morning? Basic, expect it. And they're going to give one of those things. Oh, I'm fine, John. How can I help you? Let's go back and give you the ugly. And then we'll run through the entire script. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. How are you this morning? I'm terrible. Well, Jack, let's see if we can change that. No change in tempo, speed, only my message changes. And then I get right to the point. I had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. By the way, I did see the Wall Street Journal article on your new such and such initiative. Jack, those things are always so good to get, aren't they? You know, when I was back at XYZ company, I handled a very similar launch. You know, I'd love to come in and share with you how we tackled all those issues I bet your team's experiencing. In fact, I have an opening. Here's the close. I have an opening on my calendar, Tuesday at 10 a.m. My calendar. Your words are very, very important. And a separate line to hand off control, to make them feel in control, as if there's any control here. Might that work for a brief meeting? The only concern is don't waste my time. Oh, brief. I can handle that. Might makes them feel in control, as if there was any control. And then one singular last line to set expectations, because you're the salesperson in this process. It's up to you to drive expectations. Looking forward to a great discussion with a dash. I guess this guy thinks he's going to meet with me. Yes. Why would you not meet with me unless you are a crazy person or you're not actually qualified for your own job? And you know what? You will scare the daylights out of someone that's not qualified for their own job. You'll probably never hear back from those people, run and hide, but you also probably dodged a bullet. Probably, I don't really think that's the right person for you to be working for. And so you have to factor that in as well. Just be ready, be coherent, be valuable, make it about them. That is the script. Now, in a perfect world, I'd love you to be able to do this by email and do it by phone at the same time. So if you're brave enough, and I know that takes an extra level of bravery, but if we're brave enough to do it by phone as well, then what you do is you write the email. You've already heard me do it several times. Write it up, back up the video and write it down. Write out your email. It's very effective. Now I have the email up on screen. I don't send it. I could send it, but I don't send it. Now I pick up the phone if I'm going to call. If you're not going to call, click and send the email. By the way, you can be about 90%, maybe even 95% if you're extraordinarily talented in the writing. Very succinct because no one wants to read. Yeah, I can get 90, 95% of the way there just in writing, but you can't get that extra 5 or 10% to the special place without a call. because in a call, they can hear your passion, even if it's going to voicemail. Can't hear your passion in an email. So if I'm going to call, I have the email up. I don't send it. I pick up the phone. I dial. Good news, it's almost always going to voicemail. So breathe a sigh of relief. It's not as scary as you think. The voicemail goes off. Just don't go into voicemail mode. Beep. Oh, hi, Jack. It's John Crant. It's like, what's your voice doing up in the clouds? Why'd you go into voicemail mode? In fact, settle down, relax, drop your register. Talk to a dear old friend you haven't seen in 5 years with very rose-colored glasses. Beep. Hey, good morning, Jack. It's John Crant. I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you. I'm so excited by what I see going on at XYZ company. By the way, I saw that Wall Street Journal article on your new such and such launch. Pause. I'm not going to go through the rest. You realize it's virtually identical to what you wrote, but you have to give yourself permission to relax, not rush, savor every message, drop your vocal register. And your message, compared to all the messages around, they're like, oh, this just speaks to me. Yes, it does. Comes to life, whispering in your ear. Remember, it's a date. All about them, their company, their team, how you could be a help to them, their company, their team, right for the jugular for a meeting. Now, if I get to the end of the message and nothing went wrong, click send. But if you have enough activity, if you have enough outreach, and if you have enough calls, sooner or later, you're going to mess up that message. You'll get so much activity going that you'll leave a bad voicemail, maybe one that you thought you could even re-record. You go off script, maybe even start laughing. When I was training recruiters, those new recruiters, they'd get used to the fact that many of these systems they could re-record, and they'd file it up the way they want, and they'd go off script, start laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a live line. It's still live. I'm going to re-record. And then they're horrified by the end when they realize they're on a system they can't re-record. And you know what I would tell them as a trainer? I'd force them to do it. Redial. Redial right now. Absolutely. You're not getting away with this. Redial and correct it. Fall on that sword right now in the voicemail. Jack, sorry about that voicemail. Obviously thought I could re-record. Did not want you to lose sight of the fact that I just had to reach out and introduce myself to you, right back to the pitch. And I'm going to do the same thing in the email. I'm going to click in front of the email that I already wrote and go, sorry about that email. Thought I could re-record, or voicemail. Thought I could re-record. Didn't want you to lose sight of the fact that I just had to reach out. It's the same message after that. Fall on the sword, and you'll be shocked at how much latitude they will give you if you're just a real human being. So that's how it works between calling and email, and which do I do? And my gosh, the next basic question people have is, if I'm reaching out to 3 to 5 people, now I don't give them all Tuesday 10 a.m., do I? Absolutely. Statistically, none of these people are booking Tuesday 10 a.m. I bet you their schedules are already out of control. So the likelihood of Tuesday 10 a.m. happening, even though you're offering it, is very, very tiny. If someone accepts Tuesday 10 a.m., fantastic, fantastic. I'm over the moon. And 10 minutes later, a second one comes in accepting for Tuesday 10 a.m. And you think that's tragedy? That is not tragedy. Very, very easy to reschedule any meeting. Very, very difficult to schedule in the first place. So they're already indicating they'd like to accept, their meeting. They will reschedule. By the way, when you go back to them, I don't go back and say, oh, I'm not available. You went back to them with a negative. That's how you want to sell. Go back to them and go, oh, Jack, Jim, Jill, I can't wait for our discussion. I'm so excited about what I see going on over there. And I really do have some interesting things to bring to the table. By the way, look, I wasn't even in a rush. By the way, my Tuesday 10 a.m. just filled, probably with your competitor. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking. But my 3 p.m. is open. Might that work for our discussion? Offer them 1 day, 1 time alternative. But now, since they've offered a commitment to speak with me, now I give them a little more wiggle room after the 1 additional day and time. And I go, or you can let me know what works best for your schedule, because they've already demonstrated that they're going to talk with you. You try offering that out first, you'll never get a commitment back. So work on your script. Make it as if you're talking to a dear old friend. Now, you're either going to get or not get what you'd like when you reach out to people. Most times we'd like an interview for a certain job or something like that. You're either going to get it or not get it. But you worked hard to get this person in dialogue with you. So why don't you, if you did pick up the phone and got in conversation with them, and they have nothing really for you at the moment, it's not personal, why don't you get an agreement to be able to call them back? Now, this was something I was taught as a recruiter, and full confession here, I thought it was hogwash. I thought, are you kidding me? You want me to ask the manager for an agreement to a relationship? I'm like, this sounds like hooey to me. But I did it, and my gosh, it works. First off, we misunderstand these managers we reach out to. They are stuck in a bubble of isolation. They know what's going on inside their company as they're with a fire hose trying to put out the fires. It's very difficult for them to keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on at other organizations. That's what you represent to them, an easy avenue that they can absorb information about what's going on in the field. I know that's not why you're there, but that's why they'll want to talk with you. So this idea to call them back to me sounded a little bit hogwashy, but it's as simple. I think I have some text here coming up here. It's as simple as proposing it. Jack, from time to time, I'll run into something, some interesting situation when speaking to others in the industry. It would be helpful to run a scenario by you. It's a scenario by you. Would it be okay if I gave you a call if for your opinion or advice if something were to come up? My opinion, my advice. Oh my gosh, how do I resist? Plus, it's an interesting scenario from others in the industry. Oh, they want to hear. Yes, surprisingly, I never got turned down for this agreement to the relationship, even though I thought it was nonsense. Look at what I've just highlighted and look at why. First off, it's not going to be a bother to you. It's from time to time. Oh, it's interesting. And it's up to you to make it interesting the way you say it. Speaking with others in the industry, like behind curtain number 2 or door number 3, yeah, those people. Helpful. You know what? None of us get enough brownie points in life because we're just dragged in so many directions. If there's a way to help our fellow man or woman that's out there, I believe most people would. So this plays on the fact that they'd like to be helpful. Ooh, run a scenario by me. That's how I learn, is absorbing scenarios and giving my opinion. I love it. By the way, you're probably not very likely to call them back and run a scenario by them, but just going through this dog and pony show of getting the agreement to the relationship forms a tighter chemistry bond. And on occasion, you may call that person back with something. Just don't burn out your assets. Your job is not to call them back so they never want to call you again. Your job is to only reach out when it could be valuable to you, not simply like, help me. Balance it, sow some trust, and make sure every single thing that you put out there is sowing your value. You get to the end of that call. You've done all of these different things. You either got or didn't get your first goal, second goal, agreement to the relationship. Run down this list. What can I get from this call? What else can I say? What can I leave them thinking? What are they thinking of me? What do they think of my skills? What else can I do? There must be something that I can do here. Jack, I know with your background and your position within the industry, you must hear things. Who do you know that's hiring right now? Well, I'd look at ABC company. Why didn't they tell me that before? It's not Jack's job to tell you about jobs at other companies. It's your job to get Jack to tell you about jobs at other companies. And that comes from something like this. We elevate them, stroke their ego, and then ask them for help. Or Jack, coming with your background and position within the industry, what am I missing? Put them in your shoes, looking out of your eyes and get an opinion. If you were me, what am I missing? What would you look at as the next step? Where would you look to grow your background? See whatever they have to say, take it in. They have a different perspective than you, and it can be very, very helpful. All of these things are gentle, figurative nudges that push your job search along. Just to recap, choose the company or organization, start from there. Select the 25 to 30 organizations or individuals at this organization. Open those profiles, ask them to connect. Don't wait for the answer. Pick the 3, 4, 5 decision makers, email them directly as if they're the only person in the world by first name. Book a meeting and sell, repeat, sell, repeat, sell, repeat. Download the whole system to keep track of your job search. Daily, weekly plan to cover everything that we start at the top of this broadcast today. And yes, let me just say thank you for those folks joining on Facebook and the ones joining on YouTube and the ones joining on LinkedIn Live. And we're also out on Twitch today. So wherever you're watching this, thank you. And don't forget to share, like, comment, bell, all those kind of things we like you to do. So The goal planning. Let's go through one more goal planning piece. You saw the guiding principle. Now, if I'm going to really develop my goals, I have to have some forms to manage those goals. I'm not going to take you through all the forms, but they're all available on my website, selfrecruiter.com, right under the advice tab. Just look for the job search management system. It'll come right up. So just on the goal piece, let's just take you in as the last part of today's lecture. Bottom of this form is where you set up your weekly goals. Number of companies I will contact each week. Here's a caveat. Those are brand new companies I've never contacted before. Yes, I have a whole lot that I need to follow up with that I contacted last week and the week before and the week before and the week before. Absolutely follow up with those, but they don't count here. This is fresh new blood into your job search. Number of companies each week. Number of emails outbound to decision makers, not to HR folks, unless you're trying to get to be hired by HR if you're looking for an HR role. Those are brand new initial emails out to people I've never emailed before. This takes new effort all the time, plus all the follow-up emails I have to do for the other ones. Absolutely. Number of calls, if I'm calling outbound, could be 0 if we're not ready to call. Number of calls to managers versus the number of calls to HR. And of course, out of all that activity, the number of meaningful conversations each week. I can give you some numbers that I think companies, it's 3 brand new companies. In addition to all the follow-up I have to do from the weeks before, you're going to struggle to approach 3 new companies a week. Number of emails outbound, that's really tough to put a number. Let's track what you're doing and try to escalate that. But down to meaningful conversations out of the whole volume of your outreach, whether it's email, calls, whatever, meaningful conversations that result from that, that sounds like a statistic I can just blow a lot of hooey into, which isn't going to do us any good. It's probably 6. If I got to 6 meaningful conversations in a week, that is a really great week. What is a meaningful conversation? Well, it doesn't mean I got my interview or got my job or got whatever I was after. Maybe they rejected me for whatever I was after, but somehow in the discussion, I extracted usable information that would help me in my job search. That's meaningful. Got a referral to another person. That's meaningful. Something that helps move your job forward. Then we're going to go up to the top of this form every Friday. And you have to have an epiphany moment, a little bit of fluorescent lighting. I seem to have fluorescent lighting all around me today. It's that honesty moment that fluorescent lighting provides. None of us look like all those people in the magazine. Imagine, I mentioned it in my book, if you want to be successful, you only have to be honest with one person. That's yourself. So I go through the visual of imagine you're naked in front of a full-length mirror with only fluorescent lighting. Horrifying, right? None of us look like those folks in the magazine, and they don't either. It's called Photoshop. So, but we do need that honesty and that fluorescent lighting. So when you sit down every single Friday, write down your accomplishments. And you know what? If you got a goose egg, put a goose egg. It's a goose egg. There's nothing there. All right? There's the goose egg. And maybe a couple goose eggs, then you'll be motivated to get 1. And when you get 1, maybe you'll be motivated to get 2. Over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to see a marked difference in what comes from all of this. The rest of the forms we're just going to show you, and then we're going to wrap for today. Remember, you can download each of these. We're going to have forms to go into the job opportunity, forms to go into tracking our resumes we've sent out, forms to strategize and grow our interviewing strategy itself, our conversation as we engage people. Remember that every single time, every single step of your job search is a chance to learn for the next time you do that piece or the next time you outreach. Wherever you are in your job search, I hope you take that very first step or the very next step and understand, just like trying to get that rusty old lawnmower going again after it's been sitting in the garage all winter, and we start to pull that cord and it starts to choke. Your job is to get that engine to turn over, to get your job search engine to turn over, so opportunity comes your way. All my lectures are available over on my YouTube channel, that's Self Recruiter, also on my Facebook page and my LinkedIn page as well now. Happy to start broadcasting on LinkedIn as of last week before. If you need help, don't hesitate to look under my services tab on my Self Recruiter website. All my packages are there. And if you need some discussion before you know which one is right for you, just send me a quick email directly and we'll set up a time to talk. Thank you guys for joining in today. And it is a great time to be out there looking for jobs. There is a lot of hiring going on right now. So let's get out there and fill up our dance card. Thank you guys for joining in. Have a great Tuesday. Take care.